is our Red Elk show. We're doing something a little bit different tonight, though. First of all, what we're going to have on is Willow, and Willow is calling in from New Zealand. Willow is a time traveler. She came here along with her friend from the future. And welcome to the show, Willow.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Oh, you're more. And now, your friend's name was, I don't have the book right in front of me right now. Was that Richard?
Richard Graham.
Okay, well, you see, I did read the book. Okay, so Richard and her, from what I understand by reading the book, she sent me the book, and from what I understand, Richard and her were, at one point in time in the future, one.
We were an individual, yes.
Yeah, and that once they came back into the past, which would be our present, and they split into two. They went through close to 30 years without even knowing that they were time travelers, until one time Richard had some life regression done, and from there, Willow, you want to take over?
Yeah, we knew something was strange when we got back together after 30 years, because Richard was my first love, and we just really never got over each other. And when we got back together after 30 years, neither one of us had married, and it was just sort of as if we were suspended. And when we did get back together, there was no time, which we both found very odd, that it was as if time had just sort of been suspended for 30 years, and everything, the intimacy level, the connection, was just as if I had walked out the door the day before. And some strange things started happening.
Okay, now I'm going to stop you right there. Now, you guys met here. Now, where is Richard now? Is he here in the United States?
He's in Boston. He's in Massachusetts.
And you're still in New Zealand,
I'm in
right?
New Zealand.
Now, you guys originally met in school or something like that? Am I right?
We originally met at Georgetown University.
And then after that, you guys kind of separated, went on your own way, and then you ended up in the Southwest and contacted him. He flew back, and you guys reunited.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay.
And just a little bit of an explanation about the mindset that he had. He's a Harvard graduate, and everything is sort of, it's either scientifically proven or it's not. That's sort of how he started out in this relationship after 30 years. And I had sort of been living a very different kind of life, with the kind of work that I did, being healing work and learning about a lot of unseen things prior to reconnecting. So when we got back together, and some of the things that were happening to us, right from the very beginning that were happening to us, it was very hard for him to comprehend anything. He was pretty well blown away, especially this energy field that seemed to be with us. And that was the first thing that he really couldn't understand what it was or what was happening to him. And he got a little nervous because he knew it was there.
Now, you might want to explain to the listeners what you're talking about when you say energy field.
Okay.
Was this an entity that was there, or was it? Mm-hmm. Okay. You want to tell
my
them?
best explanation is it was a field of energy that seemed to be focused in one area of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we could literally enter that field and move back out of it and feel a radical difference in ourselves and how we felt while we were inside of it. And we were together for 4 days after that first reunion. And on the second day, it became very clear to me that we were being observed through this field. And that was, of course, just my feeling. But
so you're not saying, so this field wasn't an entity, it was some sort of a portal that entities were standing in observing you? Is that?
Well, I think it was a field that they were reaching into this particular time zone, time frame, time space, however you want to call it. I think that what we were feeling was their energy. And what I felt from the experience was these were the beings that sent us, or the being. I can't be 100% sure if we're not talking about a single being. But this was the being that sent us, and that was the field that we were experiencing. We were experiencing that field.
Now, did you ever experience that field any place else other than that?
Oh, gosh,
except in that
no.
house?
Oh, no, no. This was such a profound, strong, powerful thing. I've never experienced anything like it.
But you had been here close to 30 years at this point in time. And this is the
Excuse me?
first time.
Been here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this was the first time that you experienced them watching you.
This is the first time I experienced anything like this, because this was as far beyond anything that I really could imagine.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it just seemed like it was just so strange. And I didn't know how to talk to him about it, because he'd already decided so much of my life was just too strange to even think about.
Uh-huh.
That we just never spoke about it, but we were both aware of it. We were definitely aware of it. We spoke about it at a later time, but in the beginning, it took me a great deal to get him to come back and be with me.
Now, what brought, what event led up to Richard wanting to have life regression, or, regressive hypnosis?
Well, when he went back, I got a very strong feeling that we needed to request information on who we are.
Wait, now, when you got back, what do you mean by when you got back?
I'm sorry, when he got back, he left.
Okay.
His short visit with me. And he went back to Boston.
Uh-huh.
And I just felt that it was time for us to ask some serious questions, ask the universe to provide some answers for us, because the experience was very different than when we first met. I mean, when we first met, it was a powerful experience, and we were very much drawn to each other, and it was just strong. But this time, it was different, and we both knew that. We talked about it being different.
So now, so then he comes back for a second time.
He does. What we did is, and this is something that we do every year, actually, and it's called a New Year's request, and that's what I've decided it's called. But we request information from the universe that we need to know about going forward with our lives. And at the time, I didn't know, but what we're here to do. And our first request was, we'd like to know who we are to one another and what the connection is.
Now, this happened on his second return.
We did this request.
See, I'm trying to put together
back.
some sort of a chronology of events here.
Yeah.
Okay.
We did the request before he came back, but when he came back is when we got the answer.
And what happened?
That's when he decided to do this regression. He'd never done hypnosis, and he was very skeptical about it.
And how did you find this regressive hypnosis?
The woman's name is Barbara Bartholic, and she was a well-known alien abduction researcher.
Uh-huh.
She had actually worked with Jacques Vallée, and the way that I found out about her is I had gone to the bookstore, and I do this often when I'm stuck and asking questions, and I sort of asked the universe to point me to a book that's going to assist me to get information that I need.
Right, through
and
the law of
I
synchronicity.
was pointed to a book called The Ultimate Alien Agenda, and I did not want to pick up the book, and I did not want to have anything to do with it because it felt
So what did you do?
disturbing.
Use yourself almost like a human dowsing rod then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, anyway, the book wouldn't leave me alone, and I couldn't leave the bookstore without it. That was obvious, but I had to pick it up. And I did, and I took it home, and the man who had written the book had done some regression work with a woman by the name of Barbara Bartholic. And when I got to that name, I said, I've got to contact this woman. Because at that point, I was beginning to feel quite panicky and really disturbed about something, and I didn't know what it was. And I wasn't really getting any answers from the book, but I just knew that I had to contact this woman, and I called her on Christmas Eve of all days and interrupted her big family gathering, and she was such a kind, loving woman, and she came and closed the door and talked to me for an hour and said, I
She
can't
came to your
really
house?
say anything without doing some work with
She
either
came-
you or Richard or both of you.
She came to your house, are you saying?
No, she didn't. We ended up going to see her.
Oh, okay. Now, question. Now, did you now, I had read in your book that you had, prior to Richard coming there for the first time, you were experiencing a lot of anomalies.
Yes.
Before this even happened, where there was like this one spot that you could almost like draw a line down the middle of your house, where one spot you could step over one side is extremely cold, step on the other side is extremely hot.
Right.
And then
Right.
you also said that you had some sort of an experience where there was some sort of a psychic attack done on you, where it affected your feet. At first, the lesions started breaking out almost like and going upwards, almost like you referred to as looking almost like gangrene.
Yes,
and then after a while,
like watching, one of those movies, special effects movies, where you see things happening right before your eyes. It's like, it's physically impossible for something like this just to happen, but it was happening and right before my eyes. And it just continued to work its way up the legs, and yes, they looked to be gangrene at the end of probably 10 hours. And then after before that. And then someone had given you some herbs or some type of medicine, which got you extremely ill, but the next day it seemed like it worked, and you started going back to normal. Am I correct? No. Actually, what happened was I did it mentally. I had worked with some charged pyramid water, which really seemed to give me a lot of relief from the progress, but I couldn't arrest it. I couldn't stop it from continuing. And the only thing that I could figure at that point is that this had to be done with my mind, that I was dealing with something that was, by design, there for me to learn how to work with my mind and not let the fear, because I think that's the key, is once the fear begins to take over, you feed that condition, and you are now creating it yourself by allowing the fear to take over. And so that's what I learned from that experience, is that I can reverse this.
So now how long were you experiencing things in that house? Did you start experiencing things when you first went there into that house?
Well, I've always had experiences as long as I can remember.
Oh, okay.
In any house that I've ever gone into.
Okay.
This is the most extreme experience I've ever had, that particular house. And I felt like that there was a weird time thing happening in that house, and the reason for that was the clocks were always being tampered with. It was like, and it wasn't just me experiencing it. Even after I left the house, the person that was in the house said, "Hey, we're having things happen to our clocks," and he said, "It's like there's this weird vortex here, and things are just happening to our machinery and our anything electrical." I mean, I would have lots of light bulbs blow out. I would just walk underneath one, and they would just blow up.
Okay, so now you've always had these type of experiences, all right? And then it got real bad in that one house, all right, to the point where your body started manifesting lesions, various things like that. You also had
I do believe that was a result of me making a specific contact with a specific entity.
Now, okay, and now I really do need to bring this up, not trying to be cruel or anything like that, but at this point in time, when you had all these bad things happening with these things manifesting, you were also going through a bout with alcoholism, right?
Right.
According to your book. All right, to the point where you didn't know if it was blackout or if it actually happened, but you would notice that even when you'd wake up in the morning, there would still be like cuts on you and things like that.
There would be surgical cuts. That's what's interesting about it. I mean, they had surgical precision to them, and there would be no bleeding, and I would have all my clothes on, so none of it made any sense that I could actually have had an injury or anything and have no bleeding inside the jeans that I was wearing and be in a completely different location of the house. I mean, there were a lot of strange things happening, and it became very clear to me that it was not alcohol related.
Yeah, okay, well, I still needed to bring that up because...
No, that's important.
Yeah, because it's in your book, and, and this show tries to keep everything like because people are trying to understand what's happening. So we need to put out everything, so they can,
well, that's why
to
I
form
wrote
an
it.
honest
That's why
opinion.
I put it in the book.
Right.
I wanted to
did.
tell the whole story.
So now, so you started experiencing things in this house. This lasted for an X amount of time, and then at some point in time, you decided to contact Richard again after all these years.